All right, cyber traders, good afternoon and welcome on back here. Whoops, hold on one second. For all of us in social media, you folks, you could hear me loud and clear. There we go. Should be good to go across the board both ways, folks. Great to see everybody this Tuesday, December 15th, shortly after 2:30 p.m. Eastern time. Welcome on back here for our afternoon meeting. Let's get a quick sound check. Certainly at this point, make sure everyone could hear me loud and clear. Good to go in the trading room. I know I'm good to go on social media. That's what I started off with. Perfect. All right, great to see everybody here. Welcome on back. So without further ado, actually, you could see I'm already a bit unprepared for this meeting. Flew right back to my desk to begin this meeting. I just was running a couple of errands, got right back in time. It's been a slow afternoon, but I wanted to pop the Dow up here at least to show that the markets have been pushing up all throughout the day today, at least going into this afternoon. So, what we'll do is go through from top to bottom very shortly. I'd like to recap at least some of the stocks that we ended up trading or calling out from earlier today. Pola's on the screen right now. I always start with what's on the screen at least here, but Pola, nice push heading into the afternoon. It's a stock that we are pretty familiar with. It's up 27.5% right now. So we'll come back to this just to talk more about it, but definitely going to put this on our main watch list just to begin. All right. So nonetheless, though, what I'd like to do is start with the stock that looked incredible going into the market open, OCX. So really quickly for all of us in social media, for all of us inside the trading room, I'm going to post this just across the board. A split sec for all of us on YouTube, Facebook Live. Just one moment. There you go. So that's the news on OCX. Why do I bring this up? It's very simple for me to say it, but this just goes to show why we don't look to buy the news. We don't look to buy a stock solely because good news came out or anything of that variety. So the news that was out, OCX announced exclusive in licensing of a risk, test for early stage lung cancer patients from on-site in China. Okay, so that sounds nice at least. They ended up signing an exclusive licensing deal for a test early stage lung cancer. Nonetheless, though, after the market opened up, we ended up seeing this just tank, right? So it's not just to say we don't buy the news, but it's also to say that we got to make sure our stops are set going into each and every trade that we take. So I ended up buying this a bit later on. With the news out, that's why I was active. It ended up pulling back after the open. I thought that we were going to see a potential run off of 325 right here. It was very choppy around the price to begin. It was a really strong pre-market level. But nonetheless, when this ended up pushing up towards 325, I jumped in. I ended up taking a 4-cent loss. This was actually on a double position for me. I was pretty confident about a potential move. So I still set my stop regardless in case if I was wrong. Well, I was wrong. And boy, was I wrong. So, it goes to show this ended up just tanking from that point, right? We can't hope and hold. It's not just to say we're not going to buy a stock because of news or whatever, but it's to say that we're going to make sure we get out if the stock begins to go the other way. So this ended up just, going the complete other way south. It's at 251 for right now. Listen, for a stock trading 65 million shares, I'm sure the float here is 67 million shares. So it hasn't even traded up to its float just yet. That leads me to say there is actually a better chance for this to make a potential run up or some move heading into the afternoon, just given how much it's trading comparative to its float. We've seen stocks trade, like 5, 10, 20, 50 times compared to its float. So those are the ones that we know heading into the afternoon are not going to move. Maybe I'll come back to this. I'm not really too keen on putting this on our main list just yet, but maybe I'll come back to it, or if you folks see it make a big move, as I'm going through, just let me know. All right, so I wanted to start with that because obviously, it seems more like a great short than anything else, but we were more hopeful for a breakout after the open. One of our students, Jerry, just typed in the chat board here, FCell made 10 cents. Yeah, we'll talk about FCell right now while we're at it. This was actually one of the better stocks or trades that we had after the market opened. We're all familiar with FCell at this point, but there was actually some news that came across on Plug, Plug. So I will jump to that here to begin. Plug seems to be moving up a little bit towards 29 heading into the afternoon. But, at least going into the pre-market after 8 o'clock, we ended up seeing news come out on Plug. It had to do with their hydrogen batteries and fuel cell technology. Okay, well, fuel cell, that kind of seems like a familiar name, FCEL, fuel cell energy. So, with the news out on Plug, you ended up actually seeing a small pop on FCell. And after the market opened, if Plug was a bit too volatile, this FCell trade was actually really good. So this was one with Plug moving up. I was watching going into the open, ended up making a sharp breakout over 8. Most recently ended up bouncing off of 8 here as support. But, after the market opened, ended up breaking out over 8, moved up towards the high at the time, 868, held pretty nicely, right around that famous 10:30 time. We tend to see the pullback reversal. So, hey, Jerry, nice catch from 8. I think he got in from 8.15. 8.15. Maybe got out at 8.15. I think he may have gotten in at like $8 or so right there. But nonetheless, great trade from Jerry. Heading into the afternoon with FSL seems just like one of those sideless stocks, tradable stocks potentially. PLUG has slowed down a bit, although it had made the same bounce pretty much from 28. So I'll kind of put them one and one with each other. All right. All right, so what we will do at this point, go from top to bottom. I wanted to start with at least a couple of those to begin, a few that are moving now, a few that did move from earlier that we did pretty well on. I think this PRVL is a buyout. Just want to look at it. Yep. Tell right away, just based on that trend. All right, so ANCN. Actually, look at the float here really quick. ANCN float 36.6 million. That's actually pretty high still for a stock up like 88+%. We've had a few of these coming up of late, so kind of similar to the other one that we just covered, the OCX, but nonetheless kind of made the same move. After the market opened up, it pulled back. It did push up after, nice run up, but once the volume dies off and breaks through support, we see more selling coming in. That's the point of basically I'll say reversal. So there are times where we'll make still a higher low and maybe move back up, but this ended up just continuing to drop and sink. So same thing as like OCX there. All right, got some warrants here. I could tell right away. BCDA, we did pretty good on once again today. BCDA, more of an afternoon trade today. It did move up after the open around 10 o'clock, but heading into the early afternoon, we more so called it out from that point. So we ended up catching this, of course, as you could see off of the highs from 7 here pretty much. Made a very short-lived but pretty explosive run up, moved up, beautiful trend up towards the high of the day, 860, but from there came back down. Obviously, at this point right now, this stock seems like it's kind of done. This is the typical low float, pump and dump type move. So we ended up trading this back yesterday. Rather, I should say, you folks did, not myself. I was out yesterday. I know Fausto was covering me. Thank you very much. Nonetheless, though, today, low float stock. It moved up higher today, but now at this point, kind of dumping off. So if you can get the shares to short this, that would be an incredible setup. But normally these stocks are not really too shortable. All right, Pola on our list already. Sldb, familiar name. Back on Friday of last week, ended up making a big pop and run. Yesterday, I guess it pulled back, ended up pushing up once again today. So for what it's worth, Sldb has become a pretty good sideless stock. I'm going to write this down myself to remind myself tomorrow morning, just to at least check in. For now, not a whole lot going on here, even if it does drop off. I mean, it just seems pretty slow. Definitely tradable stock, but we'll see if there's anything moving a little bit more active. Qlgn, of course, we're going to probably just put this on our list at this point. Qlgn, more of an afternoon move here. I'm going to actually jump on Benzinga Pro. I wasn't prepped to get the news on this, so Qlgn here, really quick, announces an issuance of U.S. patent for expanded applications of Allen anti-cancer platform technology. All right, cool. I'm going to copy and paste really fast with that. I know one thing, at least for all of us watching on YouTube, we get some feedback from you folks, and that was one thing, at least, just to kind of post the news more there. So there you go. Qlgn News at least ended up seeing the stock run up from essentially like the breakout off the highs of the day from 375-ish, 370. Ended up moving up beautifully towards like 410, 415. From there, ended up pushing up higher. So it's still kind of holding strong near the highs heading into the afternoon. Although I will say it ended up just making a nasty shake here heading into the like 2 p.m. time. Let's see. There we go. Big shake down. So that's a lot of profit taking. The fact that it's held up, though, this nicely is a pretty good sign for the next, like, hour and a half ahead. So Qlgn definitely going to put on our main list. All right. What else do we have here? RVP. Someone was asking RVP all-time highs. I don't know about that. I didn't check in. So let's do it now. It certainly seems like 52-week highs. I'll say that much. Yeah, this looks like all-time highs. As far as I can go back, at least. Pretty interesting here. RVP, don't know what the news is. I'll post in a moment perhaps, but just for right now, all-time highs. Yeah, I'd say this is more of like a level 3 to 4 stock just based on the spread and liquidity alone on the ECM book. So just be pretty careful on this. It's obviously on a really nice steady trend across the day, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's going to continue. So there was a stock from last week that was very similar in essence to that. I think if I'm not mistaken, if we can just flash back pretty quick, that was the SGMO stock. We ended up seeing the stock just even on like steadier than that one, just like a missile all throughout the day. And then in the afternoon, this one just like took off, right? So it is possible, but just don't bank on that. I mean, for right now, we'll look to see if this could break higher. Right now, there's a 12,000 share iceberg on the ESC. You can clearly see that on the trade station matrix there, 1580. I have my neighbor, like my backdoor neighbor right now from where my home office is in my house. I guess trying to start like a chainsaw or something. Just it's like right in my ear right now. I don't think you folks can hear that, but I'm gonna try and zip through this meeting pretty fast. Oh man! All right, you never know what you're gonna catch here. Oh, looks like you just got it started. All right, SPWR, nice push up nonetheless. You folks aren't here to hear that. So SPWR heading into the afternoon, definitely, just based on the trend alone, going to put this on our main watch list. Tight spread. We are pretty familiar with this trade, just on and off over the last few months, just trading this on the way up more so. But, even over the years, we've just had this stock in mind, trades millions of shares a day. It was always within our price range for a long, long time, still is. So it's just always been there. Just always a stock that we would always look at if it's making a nice move, and obviously right now making one of the best. So EMPH I want to look at pretty quick because EMPH and other energy stock, they kind of move similarly. I always think of one and one together. So, pretty expensive. If anyone wants to follow this, perhaps go ahead. But my focus personally would be on the SPWR. This TGTX, another stock breaking higher today once more, pushed up towards 5150, kind of pulled back. Looks pretty light in volume right now. Oh, there we go. I think my neighbor's done now. Thank God. I'm going to keep my fingers crossed here, folks. Sun W alongside Pola. You'd have to figure Sun W. You'd have to potentially figure. Potentially? Not yet. WWR. Not yet. All right. Well, looks like the other one pushing up pretty nicely there. All right, so we'll put that on our list too. Nonetheless, I mean, if one's on our list, one making that type of push up, you'd have to imagine the other is going to make a very similar one. So just over the years, we've traded some Sun W, we've traded the SOL stock too, actually. Norman called this one out just a bit earlier also, so pushing up nicely also here. Not going to bank on that WWR trade, just with the others moving up as nicely as they are. That one's not really. Maybe there is one more if I could just quickly look at maybe OPTT. It's up 7+% right now. Pushed up with them earlier, just hasn't really made that big pop just yet. I'm not as keen to put this on our main list just yet. If it pops, then we'll try and catch it in time. PPSI, it's not PPSI. FTech, I guess, moving up a bit there. MVIS. Where was it? I just lost my spot there. My scanner's like refresh on me. There we go. PPSI. See, there we go. That's why I wanted to look at this thing. This is a familiar name, so I wanted to look at it. I haven't today, and obviously right now I'm making a big pop. So this one for right now, definitely going to put back on our list. We ended up trading this. If it wasn't from last week, it was from the week before. Obviously, this big run up back in October, but more so, I think it was more so here. It made a pump and dump type move, popped up from 5 up towards 6+, then pulled back down. So we did trade the stock back from like a week or two ago, pretty much. All right, how about this? I'll jump over to the losers list right now. If there's anything else that's looking just as good, if not better, within our price range, just type it in the chat board. Let me know here. The AYRO, maybe we'll jump right back to. We'll put this on our side list for right now. Looks pretty interesting though. For the meantime, volume died off after like 1:30 though. So, all right, for a stock down 85%, you would have hoped for a much sharper dead cat bounce. So this was pretty unfortunate here. The AIV stock, after the market opened up, this one ended up making a bit of a squeeze up at first, but then ended up totally dying off. Got halted a few times on the way down. If you follow us in the afternoon meetings here on social media, of course, for all of us inside the trading room, we always say this: for a stock that gets halted on the way down, it's typically game over to begin. But those halts, when they reopen up from those halts, they're a lot bigger of a gap down, so it's tougher to get out of on the way down. More or less though, this ended up just dropping all the way down towards sub 5 and popped back up for a bit, but listen, it was actually shortable. So if you were able to follow this heading into the late morning, early afternoon, you could have done pretty well on the short side trade, right? Bob's saying it wasn't down 85% technically. It was a reorganization of the stock. So that's right. Actually, I saw that a few times from us here in the trading room and then on Benzinga Pro. So actually, if you allow me, I'll get the full spiel here. You are right, though. Just get the full story for all of us. So AIV shares trading lower nonetheless, at least after the company announced it completed the separation of its businesses, making the apartment income REIT a separate publicly traded company. So you've seen something like this before, if I'm not mistaken. You know, it was like, it wasn't, I don't know, is similar in terms of the actual news, like an REIT, but JE Just Energy, you know, one-time trade station listed as down 95%. And I personally was led to believe it was down 90. I was looking for the biggest dead cat bounce of all time. Well, you know what? Hey, if you're telling me that this wasn't really down 85%, it was just kind of a reorganization of the company, then I wouldn't be surprised if the same thing happened back then with that stock JE, which I'll jump to right here. Nonetheless, though, long story short, it was actually tradable. This, you know, AIV stock. There's JE. Nonetheless, though, you know, it's not really doing much right now, that AIV trade. Probably going to scratch it from our list going forward then too, right? Qlgn on the way down right now. Decent order book, bit of a spread right now, but that's not really much to worry about for the meantime. You know, not really moving around too fast, as you could see. But it's at the lows. It's shortable. It's still dropping off a bit here. So you know what? Why not? How about this from YouTube right now? We got one of our members that typically joins us here, RJF, picking up, I think, like 15 cents on that ANCN trade, the top percent gainer right now. This data trade, DADA, breaking lower, or at least it was just before. Squeezed back up towards 37, but pulling back down now. You know, big spread. Not really too keen on that, although it is dropping off pretty sharply. The Ruby trade, pump and dump from yesterday, ended up pumping up yesterday and then dumping off and then breaking lower today. I'm going to jump back to that ANCN trade there in just a moment. Yeah, all right. So I don't really see as much else on the losers list here. The Genius trade looked pretty interesting. It was on the gainer side this morning. Ended up diving off after the open. You know, it actually was shortable, but I was more hopeful for a squeeze back up. So I ended up taking a small loss on this. Ended up stopping me out break, or -2 rather. Ended up just diving off though after. I was in from 175, set it at 73. All right, let's go back to ANCN. Folks, if there's anything else, up, down, left, right, 5% or more, let me know. I see from Cliff here already in the trading room, the ACB trade. Yeah, I was going to look at that, so I appreciate the reminder on that, Cliff. We're calling out the pot stocks a bit earlier. So that ANCN trade, right, from you know, $3 ended up making a bit of a squeeze so far. RGF says he got in 296. There we go. All right. From Cliff, ACB at 10. Finally just popped it right now, right? So ACB up over 5% right now. GRWG I did not look at, Chuck, just yet either. So that one actually beginning to push up pretty nicely. Was just not up enough on the gainer side here, would be my guess. Yep. All right, cool. So definitely good call on the GRWG trade at least. I'll look at the news right now on that one, just given the sharper run up. I don't know what's going on with this. I don't really have any specific news. Let's see. Oh, I do have news. How about this? This was from Saturday. So be careful on this GRWG trade. I'm going to tell you that right now. We might come back to this tomorrow even. So this is a news report from Saturday. Just copy and paste right now across, you know, for everyone. So GRWG wants to raise 125 million via public offering. So whenever that happens, it's going to dilute the stock price down. That didn't come out today. That came out just Saturday over the weekend. So I don't know if this has to do with like wheat maps moving up or whatever the case may be, but you know, just given that news snippet, just be a bit careful on this trade. If you're kind of swing trading this, you might happen to see this make a big drop off. Should that be true? But obviously, given this run up right now, news or not, we're going to watch this and move up higher heading into the close. See what I just did there? Move up higher. That's my joke of the day. All right, MJ, though, speaking of all of the pot stocks, you know, all right, pushing up pretty nicely here. CGC up 4+%. ACB, Chuck just called out, or Cliff just called out. Tilray, you'd imagine. Tilray is like near the highs. So all of these seem to be strong in their own regard. If they're not breaking higher, like literally right now, they are building up towards the highs, like Tilray is here. So, it might sound lazy for me to do, but just like the pot stocks all together, I might just group on our list, and that's that. The markets are at the highs right now too, so you might just see a lot move with the market. So take a look on AAL. This has kind of been teasing us off 17 throughout the day. And CLH, it's not up or down a whole lot percent-wise, but, at the highs of the day right now, so potentially that could run. CCL, I'd imagine, same thing. Yep. Penn National Gaming, good example of a company that ended up doing an offering, and then maybe like a week later, they ended up breaking higher, and now obviously, all-time highs from yesterday. Yep. So all of those seem to be pretty strong with the market right now, folks. I mean, David's saying HAL and SLB. So we'll look at those here quickly. And then from there, we'll pretty much finish up. HAL doesn't look as strong right now. It's kind of near the highs, you could say, but not a whole lot going on, really. Mara worth. Oh, yeah. Geez. Why would I not even think about Mara? You know why I wouldn't think about Mara? Because typically Bitcoin stocks don't run heading into the afternoons. So, we always say this, right? So with the way that Mara was moving up earlier, I ended up clipping 20 cents on that trade. I left a boatload of money on the table. Riot making the same move, though. We saw the stock rip through big resistance on the way up towards 10 right now. We might get the break live right now. Let's just keep an eye on this Riot trade for the meantime. All right, so both Riot and Mara heading into the afternoon. We'll watch. I mean, they certainly look strong enough today to prove me wrong finally and make that like actual big pop. We've seen recently Riot and Mara like heading into the 3 p.m. time slot here. We've seen it at this point in the day, like where it's at, maybe make like a 10-cent move, 8, 10-cent, 12-cent move. But to see an actual run, like an actual 50-cent dollar push up here, we haven't seen this out of Riot or Mara, any of them heading into the afternoon. So just be a bit careful. But for right now, they look strong enough right now to potentially do that. Laser getting hammered, says Mike. Yeah, down 16+%. We followed this on the way up a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. And obviously since on the way back down. You'd hope to think at some point this will make a dead cat bounce at least some sort of like secondary, run up, like a Green Day. Give me something, right? So, in that regard, definitely keep it on your side list. For right now, I think that we have a big enough list for right now just to kind of keep our focus on these. Man, everything though is like moving around a bit. Like SPWR, we'll jump back to. Like, how can you not focus on this? Right, pushing up beautifully. Still a lot of volume being traded on that minute by minute. We got our Pola trade here still fairly active, pulled back a little bit. OCX, nah, this one's off. Jesse, this one's not going anywhere, man. I'm hopeful, but for right now, it hasn't really done as much. Do you think Vero could dead cat bounce at 9? I appreciate you bringing that up, RJF. And if you joined us in our Traders Talk workshop, you would have gotten the full spiel. But folks, look where the Vero trade's at for all of us inside the trading room. You're talking about this saying, hey, that 9 to 9.11 levels, that range is going to be a big support. Well, guess where it's at? So, you know what? Given the float on this, given the trend, it still is shortable if it craps out the other way. So right now, it actually is at a big support. I think it can. It has the potential to. 12,000 share order on the bid right now. We got to make sure it doesn't break any lower from this point. We are going to have a classic, a traditional Josh watch list heading into the afternoon. Normally I used to be known for putting like 15, 20 stocks on our watch lists heading into the afternoon. It's pretty similar to this right now. So we have 12 different stocks on our watch list to begin, and then all of the other pot stocks otherwise. All right, so it's a pretty big list heading into this afternoon. OCX, we're done with. The AYRO is the only other one I was watching. It's up 12+%. Still looks like it can make that big push up. So it's hard for me to not put this on our list too, right? So kind of a sucker for these types of plays. But if it's not AYRO, hopefully it's going to be the PPSI. If it's not PPSI, hopefully it's the Sldb trade, whatever it may be. We're going to try and follow one of these trades higher heading into the afternoon. Normally, we'd hope to have a smaller list, so we're not as overwhelmed. So, for all of us inside the trading room coming up, I say this to you folks only, because everyone on YouTube that's not joining us they're not going to take part. Start and stick with this list, please. All right. So, we have Mara, we have Riot, we have Veru on the way down. We got everything moving here. So start and stick with this list. Don't try and, go outside the wheel box here or whatever it may be and, go find something crazy that's not going to move or just too crazy for you to follow on the order book. This list right here is going to be good enough. All right. And then, from that point, let's say if we have a complete bagel, a complete shutout where we have no stocks from this list moving, if and only if, which isn't going to happen. At that point, I would say try and follow some other trades, from our scanners, from the gainers and losers list. If there's anything that's being called out from myself or Fausto or Rich heading into the afternoon. We got Troy here at the bell. Let's see here, or the buzzer. Neo. Ooh, that is pushing up beautifully, right? So, man. See, if we didn't have too big of a list, Troy, I probably would just throw this on our watch list right away. Checking on some other EV stocks while we're at it. Like Solo here, right? Like no one even called out Solo. I didn't find Solo until right now, but it's an EV stock moving up. How could I not put this on our list too? Damn, we have everything moving. XPEV we'll look at just to be safe, like all of the other EV stocks. Kind of making that same type of move up. All right. Well, I'm not going to put Neo on the main list, Troy. If you tend to follow the more expensive stocks, that at least has really good liquidity. So that would be a decent one to watch. Maybe the one to watch outside from our list. But this Solo one, I do like. So I appreciate you bringing up Neo because I wouldn't have looked up Solo, otherwise until we finished up the meeting. All right. And then from Mike at the end here, Dave and Buster's play, who had earnings back on Thursday last week. Yeah, a bit slow, though. Not a whole lot happening there. I mean, they're at the highs, so I appreciate that. A lot of stocks are kind of making that same move. So, if you do well on it, maybe, but otherwise, we got a good list here. So if you're going to trade this, keep the call outs to yourself in that regard, because we got a really packed out list heading into the afternoon. I can't stress that enough. All right. So for all of us on YouTube, Facebook Live, first and foremost, like, subscribe, notify right on the bottom of this page here. And then aside from that, feel more than free to join us Monday to Friday weekdays here in the Cyber Group room, right from the banner below. And then for all of us inside the trading room, give me a quick moment. I'm going to jump right back on the mic in the next 10 or so minutes. Take a quick break, then jump right back on for you folks for the afternoon. Take care.